The massive ship drifted through the cold darkness of space like a sleeping giant. Horizon's End was over 10 miles long and 3 miles wide. Inside its metal walls, 50,000 humans lay in deep sleep. They had been sleeping for almost 200 years. Captain Jake Morrison had been the last human to close his eyes. He remembered the day clearly. Earth was dying. The air was poison. The oceans were acid. Nothing could grow. The last group of humans had built this ship to find a new home far away from their dead world. Jake had walked through the ship one final time before his long sleep. He checked every system twice. The life support was working. The engines were ready. The navigation computers knew where to go. Everything was perfect. Then he had climbed into his sleeping pod. The cold liquid filled the chamber around him. His body grew heavy. His mind grew quiet. The last thing he saw was the control panel blinking green. All systems normal. That was 197 years ago. Now the ship moved through space in complete silence. Row after row of sleeping pods stretched through the ship's massive halls. Each pod held a human. Men, women, children. Teachers, doctors, engineers, farmers. All the people needed to build a new world. Their bodies did not age in the deep sleep. Their minds did not dream. They were like the dead, but they would wake again. The ship's computers watched over them every second. Heart rates stayed steady. Brain waves stayed calm. Nothing disturbed their rest, but the humans were not alone. In space, Commander Zix-9 of the Surok fleet floated in his command chair. His green scales caught the light from his ship's control screens. His yellow eyes never left the image of the human vessel on his main display. He had been watching over Horizon's End for 3 years now. The Surok were lizard people. They stood 7 feet tall on powerful legs. Their claws could cut through steel. Their teeth could bite through bone. But they were not the strongest race in the galaxy. That honor belonged to the sleeping humans. X-9 remembered the stories his grandfather had told him. Long ago, humans had fought in the Great War. They were small compared to most alien races. They had no claws, no thick skin, no poison. But they never gave up. They never surrendered. They found ways to win that no one else could imagine. The stories said humans could fight for days without rest. They could solve problems that made other races go crazy. They could build weapons from scrap metal and win battles against impossible odds. Most frightening of all, they never fought fair. They used tricks and traps and surprise attacks. That was why the Galactic Transit Authority had made the rule: never wake the humans. Let them sleep until they reached their new world. Keep them happy. Keep them calm. And most importantly, keep them unconscious. The Transit Authority was made up of 12 different alien races. They all agreed to help the humans reach their new home. But they also agreed it was safer for everyone if the humans stayed asleep. During the trip, Zix-9 had been chosen for this duty because he was steady and careful. He followed orders without question. His job was simple: stay close to the human ship. Make sure nothing bad happened to it. And never, ever wake the humans up. The journey to the humans' new world would take 50 more years. Zix-9 planned to do his duty for every one of those years. He would watch over the sleeping humans. He would protect them from space pirates and asteroid fields. He would deliver them safely to their destination. Then he would fly away as fast as his ship could go. Other ships traveled with them. The crystal people called Quarlos had 3 vessels in the convoy. Their ships looked like floating diamonds. They were beautiful but cold. The Quarlos thought with pure logic. They made decisions based on numbers and facts. They had no emotions at all. The insect people called hive minds sent 2 shapes shaped like metal flowers. Each ship held 1,000 drone workers controlled by 1 queen. The queens talked to each other through telepathy. They never argued because they always agreed. There were others too. The rock people, the energy beings, the plant creatures. All different, all strange. But they all followed the same rule about the humans. Never wake them up. ZYX-9 checked his instruments again. The human ship was healthy. All 50,000 life signs were stable. The ship's engines pushed it steadily toward its destination. Everything was normal. He settled back in his command chair and closed his eyes. His second-in-command, Officer Cree 7, would take the next watch. The routine never changed. Monitor the humans. Stay alert for dangers. Follow the convoy route through safe space. It was boring work, but ZX-9 preferred boring. Boring meant safe. Boring meant the humans stayed asleep. Boring meant he could finish his assignment and go home to his family. But space was vast and full of surprises. And somewhere in the dark between the stars, something was moving. Something hungry. Something that would change everything. The rule was clear. Never wake the humans. Every alien in the convoy knew this rule. They all understood why it existed. Humans were dangerous when they were awake. Better to let them sleep. Soon they would learn that humans were even more dangerous when someone threatened their sleep. The emergency alarm screamed through Commander ZX-9's ship. Red lights flashed on every wall. His crew ran to their stations with panic in their eyes. Something was very wrong. ZX-9 jumped from his sleeping chamber and rushed to the command center. His claws clicked on the metal floor. His heart pounded in his chest. In 3 years of watching over the humans, nothing like this had ever happened. Officer Cree 7 was already at the sensor station. His scales had turned pale with fear. "Commander, you need to see this. The long-range scanners have found something terrible." The main screen lit up with a star map. Thousands of red dots moved across the display. They were coming from the edge of the galaxy, moving fast, moving toward the convoy. "What are they?" ZX-9 asked. But deep in his stomach, he already knew. The answer: Devourers, sir. The scanners count over 5,000 ships, maybe more. They will reach us in 6 days. ZX-9 felt his blood turn to ice. Every child in the galaxy knew about the Devourers. They were ancient machines that ate entire star systems. They turned planets into fuel. They left nothing behind but empty space. The Devourers had been quiet for over a century. Most people thought they were gone forever. But now they were back. And they were hungry. "Send an emergency message to all ships in the convoy," ZX-9 ordered. "Tell them to prepare for immediate evacuation. We need to run." But even as he gave the order, he knew it was hopeless. The human ship was too big and too slow. It could not escape in time. The Devourers would catch them and consume everything. Within an hour, every ship captain in the convoy was connected by emergency communication. Their faces filled the screen in ZX-9's command center. Quarlos crystal beings, hive mind queens, rock people, energy creatures. All of them afraid. Admiral Vex of the Quarlos spoke first. Her voice was cold and logical, like always. "The situation is clear. The Devourer fleet will reach us before we can escape. We must abandon the slow ships and save what we can." "You mean abandon the humans?" said Queen Buzz Prime of the Hive Minds. Her insect face showed no emotion, but her mental voice carried sadness. "The humans cannot be moved quickly," Admiral Vex replied. "Their ship is too massive. Their sleeping systems cannot be rushed. We must accept this loss." Captain Stoneheart of the Rock People pounded his fist on his control panel. "We gave our word to protect them. We cannot just fly away and let them die." "What choice do we have?" Admiral Vex asked. "Our combined fleets have maybe 800 ships. The Devourers have 5,000. We cannot win this fight." The argument went on for hours. Some wanted to run and save themselves. Others wanted to stay and die with honor. But none of them had a real plan to stop the Devourers. Finally, Fleet Mind Glowbright of the Energy Beings spoke. His voice was like music made of light. "There is one option we have not discussed. We could wake the humans." Silence fell over the communication channel. Every alien leader stared at their screens in shock. "That is forbidden," Admiral Vex said. "The rule is absolute. Never wake the humans." "The rule was made to protect us from the humans," Glowbright replied. "But now we need protection from something else. The humans are warriors. They know how to fight impossible battles. They find ways to win when everyone else gives up." Queen Buzz Prime's antennae twitched with worry. "But what if they blame us for breaking the rule? What if they turn their anger on us? Then we die fighting humans instead of dying eaten by devourers," Captain Stoneheart said. "At least humans leave bodies behind." The debate raged for another hour. Some aliens remembered the old stories about human cruelty. Others remembered stories about human heroism. All of them were scared. Commander Zix-9 listened to the arguments with growing dread. He had spent 3 years following one simple rule: keep the humans asleep. Now his leaders were asking him to break that rule. The vote was close. 6 races voted to wake the humans. 5 voted to run away. The plant creatures abstained because they could not decide. Admiral Vex announced the final decision with her cold logic voice. "The motion passes. We will attempt to wake selected humans and request their assistance. Commander Zix-9 will oversee the awakening process." Zix-9 felt his legs go weak. "Sir, I respectfully request that someone else handle this duty. I am not qualified to speak with humans." "You have watched over them for 3 years," Admiral Vex replied. "You know their ship better than anyone. The responsibility is yours." The communication channel closed. Zix-9 stared at the sleeping human ship on his main screen. Somewhere inside that metal hull, 50,000 humans lay in their pods. Soon, some of them would open their eyes for the first time in 2 centuries. What would they do when they learned the rule had been broken? What would they say when they found out about the devourers? Would they help the aliens who had betrayed their trust? Zix-9 had no choice but to find out. He ordered his ship to dock with Horizon's End. His claws shook as he prepared to enter the human vessel. In all his years of watching over them, he had never set foot inside their ship. The docking process took an hour. Then the airlock opened. With a soft hiss, Zix-9 stepped into the human ship for the first time. The corridors were dark and quiet. The air smelled of metal and antiseptic. He walked through halls lined with sleeping pods. Thousands of human faces behind glass windows, all peaceful, all trusting that they would be safe until they reached their new home. Soon, Zix-9 would have to break that trust. He would have to wake them up and ask them to save the galaxy. The rule was clear: never wake the humans, but the devourers were coming, and rules meant nothing to the dead. Commander Zix-9 stood in front of the first sleeping pod. Inside, a human woman floated in blue liquid. Her nameplate read Chief Engineer Lisa Parker. The ship's computer had recommended her as the best person to wake up first. Zix-9's claws trembled as he touched the control panel. The awakening process was automatic. All he had to do was press one button. But that button would change everything. He pressed it. The pod began to drain. Machines hummed to life. Lights blinked on the control panel. The woman's eyes moved behind her closed eyelids. Her fingers twitched. After 197 years of sleep, Lisa Parker was waking up. It took 20 minutes for her to fully wake. Her eyes opened slowly. She looked confused and scared. She tried to speak but only made soft sounds. The sleep drugs were still leaving her system. Zix-9 helped her sit up. He had studied human language for this moment. "Lisa Parker," he said. "Carefully. I am Commander Zix-9. Do not be afraid. You are safe." Lisa looked at him with wide eyes. She had never seen a Sorok before. His green scales and yellow eyes made her nervous. But she was an engineer. She thought with logic first. "Why am I awake?" she asked. Her voice was rough from the long sleep. "What happened to the ship? Are we at the New World?" Zix-9 had practiced this speech many times. "No, we are still traveling. But there is danger, great danger. We need human help." Lisa's training kicked in. She checked the displays around her pod. All the numbers looked normal. "How long have I been asleep? What kind of danger?" "You have been sleeping for 197 years. The danger is called devourers. They are coming to destroy us all." Lisa stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something Zix-9 did not expect. She laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had heard the most ridiculous thing possible. "Let me understand this," she said, still smiling. "You kept us asleep for 200 years. You had one job. Keep us asleep. Until we reach our destination. But now you wake me up because you need help fighting something called devourers?" Zix-9 nodded nervously. "Yes, that is correct." Lisa laughed again. "Well, that's a first. Usually people wake us up because they want to fight us, not because they want us to fight for them." She stood up slowly. Her legs were weak from the long sleep, but she stayed upright. "Okay, Commander Zix-9, you broke the biggest rule in the galaxy. You better have a good reason. Tell me about these devourers." Zix-9 explained everything. The ancient machine race. The 5,000 ships. The 6 days until they arrived. The impossible odds. Lisa listened without interrupting. Her face grew more serious with each detail. "I need to wake up the others," she said finally, starting with Captain Morrison. Then the senior staff. "How many people can your medical systems handle at once?" "Your ship can safely wake 10 people at a time," Zix-9 replied. "But we recommend starting with fewer." "Recommend all you want," Lisa said. She was already walking toward the captain's pod. "I'm waking up everyone we need. Jake Morrison, Ben Rodriguez, Amy Chun, Chris Johnson, the whole command team." She moved through the ship like she had never been asleep. Her hands flew over control panels. She activated awakening systems throughout the vessel. Zix-9 followed her, amazed by her energy and focus. The other humans woke up just as quickly as Lisa had. Captain Jake Morrison was first. He sat up in his pod, looked around, and asked, "What's our status, Lisa?" "Aliens woke us up because they need help fighting something called devourers," Lisa replied. 5,000 enemy ships, 6 days to get ready." Jake nodded like this was normal. "How big are these devourers? What kind of weapons do they have?" Zix-9 provided the tactical data. Jake listened while the others finished waking up. But Rodriguez was next. He was the tactical officer. He started asking questions about fleet positions and weapon capabilities. Amy Chun was the science officer. She wanted to know everything about devourer technology. How did they work? What were their weaknesses? How had they been defeated before? Chris Johnson was the communications officer. He immediately started connecting to the alien fleet's communication systems. Within minutes, he was talking to alien captains throughout the convoy. Zix-9 watched in amazement. Most species took days to make important decisions. They held meetings and debates in committees. But the humans started working immediately. They did not waste time being angry about the broken rule. They did not panic about the impossible. Odds, they just got to work. "Commander Zix-9, Captain Morrison said, "we need to see everything. Ship positions, weapon inventories, defensive capabilities. And we need to talk to your fleet commanders." "The fleet commanders are waiting for your communication," Zix-9 replied. "But I must warn you. Some of them are afraid of humans. They may not trust you." Jake smiled. It was not a mean smile, but it was not entirely friendly either. "They woke us up because they need us. Trust is something we'll have to earn. But first, we need to understand what we're fighting. Within an hour, the human command team was fully awake and working. They had connected to every ship in the convoy. They were studying Devour attack patterns from old battles. They were calculating odds and planning strategies. The aliens watched in fascination and fear. The humans worked with frightening intensity. They asked questions that no one had thought to ask. They saw possibilities that no one else had considered, most importantly, they did not seem afraid. While every alien in the convoy was terrified of the approaching Devourers, the humans seemed almost excited by the challenge. 5,000 ships, Ben Rodriguez said, studying the tactical display. That's a lot, but numbers aren't everything. What matters is how we use what we have. The question is, Amy Chun added, can we turn this convoy into a fighting force? In 6 days? Captain Morrison looked at the data streaming across the screens. 50 different alien species, hundreds of ships, thousands of different weapons and defensive systems. It was chaos, but Jake Morrison had spent his life turning chaos into order. We can do this, he said quietly. We just need to think like humans. The rule had been broken. The humans were awake. And for the first time since the Devourers had been detected, someone in the convoy was smiling. The alien fleet commanders stared at their screens in disbelief. Captain Jake Morrison had just finished explaining the human battle plan. It was the craziest thing any of them had ever heard. You want to use your colony ship as a weapon? Admiral, Vex asked. Her crystal voice carried shock and confusion. That vessel contains 50,000 sleeping humans. It is not a warship, Jake nodded calmly. That's exactly why it will work. The Devourers expect us to run or fight with traditional tactics. They won't expect a colony ship to attack them directly. Ben Rodriguez stepped forward. He had been studying Devourer battle patterns for 18 hours straight. The Devourers use a network system. All their ships connect to central command nodes. If we can destroy those nodes, the whole fleet will fall apart. But how do you identify these nodes? Queen Buzz Prime asked. Her insect mind processed information differently than humans, but even she was confused by the plan. Amy Chun smiled. That's the beautiful part. The command nodes are the biggest ships. They have to be, to control thousands of other vessels. They can't hide from us. Fleet mind glow bright, flickered with uncertainty. Even if you can find these command ships, how will you destroy them? They are heavily armored and surrounded by thousands of defenders. We turn Horizon's End into the biggest missile ever built, Lisa Parker said. She had been working non-stop to redesign the colony ship systems. We convert the hibernation pods into weapon launchers. We turn the fusion engines into directed energy cannons. We make the whole ship into a weapon. The alien commanders looked at each other with growing alarm. Captain Stoneheart of the Rock People spoke for all of them. You are talking about destroying your own ship. Your own people. This is madness. No, Jake said firmly. This is tactics. We're not going to ram the ship into anything. We're going to turn it into a mobile weapons platform. The hibernation systems can be converted to launch missiles. The industrial fabricators can make ammunition. The fusion reactors can power energy weapons that will cut through anything. Commander Zix-9 had been silent during the meeting. Finally, he spoke up. Captain Morrison, your plan requires perfect timing and coordination. If anything goes wrong, everyone dies. Jake looked at the Surak commander with steady eyes. Commander, if we do nothing, everyone dies anyway. At least this way, we have a chance. The next 3 days were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The humans worked with desperate energy to transform their sleeping colony ship into a weapon of war. They woke up engineers, technicians, and weapon specialists. Each person who opened their eyes immediately joined the effort. Lisa Parker led teams through every section of the massive ship. They ripped out sleeping systems and replaced them with missile tubes. They rewired power conduits to feed energy. Weapons. They turned the ship's cargo bays into ammunition factories. The hibernation pods were perfect for launching missiles. Each pod could hold and fire a torpedo-sized projectile. With 10,000 pods available, Horizon's End could launch the biggest missile barrage in galactic history. Ben Rodriguez worked with alien fleet commanders to coordinate attack patterns. The humans taught the aliens new fighting techniques. Instead of the careful, defensive tactics most species preferred, the humans showed them how to attack fast and hard. Hit them where they don't expect it, Ben explained to a group of Corlos captains. Don't give them time to think or react. Overwhelming force in concentrated bursts. The aliens struggled to understand human military thinking. Most species fought with honor and tradition. Humans fought to win, using any method that worked. Amy Chun studied Devourer technology with teams of alien scientists. She discovered something important. The Devourers had not upgraded their systems in centuries. They relied on numbers and brute force, not advanced tactics. They're like a swarm of locusts, she explained to the science team. Individually weak, but dangerous in large groups. If we can break their coordination, they become much easier to defeat. Chris Johnson established communication networks between all the ships in the convoy. He taught alien communication officers how to share information quickly during battle. Speed of information could mean the difference between victory and death. Alien crews watched the humans work with a mixture of awe and fear. The humans never seemed to sleep. They ate while working. They solved problems that had puzzled alien engineers for years. Most frightening of all, they seemed to enjoy the challenge. They are not like other species, Commander 69 told his crew. Other races fight because they have to. Humans fight because they choose to. There is a difference. On the fourth day, long-range sensors detected the first Devourer scout ships. The enemy fleet was still 2 days away, but their advance units were already probing the convoy's defenses. Jake Morrison called all the ship captains together for a final briefing. The main screen showed the approaching Devourer armada. 5,000 ships arranged in a massive formation. It looked like a metal storm cloud spreading across space. In 36 hours, they will be here, Jake said. We have one chance to make this work. The Devourers will expect us to run or form defensive positions. Instead, we're going to charge straight at them. Admiral Vex's crystalline form flickered with anxiety. Captain Morrison, this plan violates every principle of safe space combat. It is tactical suicide. Jake smiled. Admiral, safe space combat is what got you into this mess. The Devourers know how to fight against safe tactics. They don't know how to fight against crazy humans. The final preparations took another full day. Every ship in the convoy was repositioned according to the human battle plan. Weapon systems were charged and ready. Communication networks were tested and retested. Horizon's End floated at the center of the formation. The massive colony ship had been transformed into something terrifying. Missile tubes pointed in every direction. Energy weapons glowed with barely contained power. The ship that had carried sleeping humans now bristled with enough firepower to destroy a small moon dot as the Devourer fleet approached. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his converted colony ship. Around him, human and alien crew members worked at their stations. The air hummed with tension and electricity. All ships report ready, Chris Johnson announced. Weapons charged and locked on target, Ben Rodriguez confirmed. Enemy fleet entering. Optimal range, Amy Chun reported. Jake looked at the screen showing thousands of enemy ships. Then he looked at his crew. Humans and aliens working together for the first time in galactic history. All ships, he said into the communication system. This is Captain Morrison. The rule was clear. Never wake the humans. But you did it anyway. Now let's show the galaxy why that was the smartest decision you ever made. The Devourer fleet spread across space like a metal plague. 5,000 ships moved in perfect formation. Their dark hulls absorbed light. Their weapons glowed with hungry energy. They had consumed 100 worlds. They expected to consume 100 more, but they had never fought humans before. Captain Jake Morrison watched the enemy approach on his main screen. The bridge of Horizon's End was crowded with human and alien officers. Everyone was quiet. Everyone was ready. Enemy fleet. At maximum range, Amy Chun reported. They're maintaining standard attack formation. No signs they suspect our plan. All ships in position, Chris Johnson confirmed. Alien captains are nervous but ready to follow orders. Jake nodded. The human plan was simple but dangerous. Instead of running or forming defensive lines, the convoy would charge straight at the Devourer fleet. Horizon's End would lead the attack, drawing enemy fire while the smaller ships struck at the command vessels. Ben, are our weapons ready? Jake asked. Ben Rodriguez checked his tactical display. 10,000 missile tubes loaded and armed. Energy. Weapons at full power. We have enough firepower to level a continent. Good. Amy, have you identified the command ships? Amy pointed to her screen. 3 massive vessels at the center of their formation. Each one is twice the size of our biggest ship. They're controlling the entire fleet through quantum communication links. Jake studied the battle plan one more time. Everything depended on speed and surprise. The Devourers expected prey, not predators. That mistake would cost them everything. All ships, this is Captain Morrison, he said into the communication system. Begin attack run. Remember, we hit fast and hard. No mercy, no retreat. Show them what happens when you wake sleeping giants. Horizon's End surged forward. Its massive engines pushed the colony ship toward the enemy fleet. Behind it, 800 alien vessels followed in tight formation. For the first time in galactic history, dozens of different species flew together as one fighting force. Devourers detected the incoming attack and responded with confusion. Their sensors showed the convoy charging directly at them. This behavior made no sense. Prey was supposed to run, not attack. Enemy ships opening fire, Ben reported. Incoming energy beams and missiles. The space between the fleets filled with deadly light. Devourer weapons reached out like claws of fire. But the human formation was ready. They had studied Devourer attack patterns for days. They knew where the shots would come from. Evasive maneuvers, Jake ordered. All ships, scatter. Formation Alpha. The convoy broke apart into smaller groups. Each group moved in unpredictable patterns. The Devourer weapons, designed to hit large formations, missed most of their targets. First wave ineffective, Amy reported with satisfaction. They're not used to fighting targets that think. The gap between the fleets closed rapidly. Soon they would be close enough for Horizon's End to use its converted weapons. Jake waited until the perfect moment. All weapons fire. 10,000 missiles erupted from Horizon's End at the same time. The massive barrage looked like a metal storm crossing space. Each missile was guided by human tactical computers. Each one aimed at a specific target. The Devourers had never seen anything like it. Their defensive systems were designed to stop hundreds of missiles, not thousands. Most of the human barrage got through their defenses. Explosions bloomed throughout. The Devourer fleet. Hundreds of ships died in the first few seconds. But the 3 command vessels were heavily shielded. The missiles damaged them, but did not destroy them. Direct hit on command ship Alpha, Ben reported. Shields down to 60%. Command ship Beta is damaged but still functional. Command ship Gamma is launching fighters. Good, Jake said. Now comes the hard part. All ships, engage enemy fighters. Protect Horizon's End while we reload. The alien vessels proved their worth in the fighter battle. Corlo's ships moved like dancing crystals, their precise movements confusing enemy pilots. Hive mind vessels coordinated perfectly, trapping enemy fighters in deadly crossfires. Rock People ships simply absorbed damage and kept fighting. Commander Zix-9 led a squadron of Sorok vessels against a group of Devourer fighters. His natural hunting instincts made him a deadly pilot. Human tactics work, he reported over the communication system. Enemy fighters cannot adapt to unpredictable attacks. The battle raged for 6 hours. Both sides took heavy losses. But slowly, the human strategy began to work. The Devourer fleet, designed for overwhelming weak opponents, struggled against coordinated resistance. Command Ship Alpha is breaking apart, Amy announced. Quantum communication links are failing. Enemy coordination is dropping. Prepare second missile barrage, Jake ordered. Target the remaining command ships. Horizon's End launched another massive wave of missiles. This time, with the Devourer defenses weakened, more shots found their targets. Command Ship Beta exploded in a ball of fire. Command Ship Gamma lost power and began drifting helplessly. Without their command vessels, the Devourer fleet fell into chaos. Individual ships continued fighting, but they could not coordinate their attacks. The human-led convoy pressed their advantage. All ships, final attack run, Jake commanded. Finish them. What followed was not really a battle anymore. It was a rout. Devourer ships fled in all directions. Some tried to surrender, but humans had learned about Devourer behavior from alien databases. Devourers never truly surrendered. They only retreated to fight again later. The surviving enemy vessels jumped to faster-than-light speed and disappeared. The space around the convoy was filled with debris and wreckage. Of the 5,000 Devourer ships, fewer than 300 escaped. The alien fleet captains could barely believe what had happened. They had won. Not only won, but crushed an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. Casualty report, Jake requested. 47 ships lost, Chris reported. But over 300,000 alien lives saved. The convoy is secure. In the days that followed, as the convoy continued toward human destination, everything changed. The alien species that had feared human unpredictability now sought human advice. The Galactic Transit Authority offered humanity full membership. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the same spot where he had entered hibernation 2 centuries ago. But now he was not alone. Alien officers worked alongside human crew members. Former enemies had become friends. Admiral Vex approached him with a formal document. Captain Morrison, the Transit Authority Council has voted unanimously. Humanity is officially invited to join our organization. Will you accept? Jake looked at the document, then at the mixed crew working around him. Admiral, we came to space looking for a new home. I think we found something better. We found a new family. Commander Zix-9 joined them at the observation window. Space looked different now. Instead of empty darkness, it seemed full of possibilities. Commander, Jake said, you broke the most important rule in the galaxy when you woke us up. Any regrets? Zix-9's scaled face showed what might have been a smile. Captain Morrison, that rule was made because other species feared what humans might do when awake. Now we know what humans do when their friends are threatened. We sleep better knowing you are awake to watch over us. The rule had been clear. Never wake the humans. But sometimes breaking rules led to better outcomes than following them. Years later, when young aliens asked about the great victory over the Devourers, their elders would tell them a simple truth. The galaxy had tried to keep humanity asleep. Because they were dangerous when awake. They were right. Humans were dangerous when awake. Dangerous to anyone who threatened the people they cared about.